You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Happy to have Andy Martin, head coach of the U-High Cubs, in studio with us. Big day for his biggest prospect, Lamar Brown, signing day, or actually not signing day, his announcement day, Thursday there at U-High's campus. Thanks for coming in, man. How are you?
Thanks for having me. It's been a while.
Yeah, no, we always appreciate you when you take the call. I would imagine it's a pretty busy 24, 48-hour period for you right now. Can you kind of sum up what this is like, especially being in a program that regularly has highly recruited guys, but this one just feels a little different?
Yeah, it's been very busy the last couple of weeks. It's not nearly as busy as it is for Lamar right now, but yeah. I'm getting phone calls, things like that. But this is going to be a neat deal. We've had a lot of high-profile recruits. We've had a lot of people come through the halls and do their commitments and all that, but never in the situation we're going to have tomorrow. So it's a little bit different situation.
It's going to be live on ESPN2. So how did that come about?
So the producer reached out to Lamar, then reached out to me to see if it would be possible for us to do it at our school. And he said that there was he was trying to work through ESPN. He couldn't guarantee it, but sometimes they like doing that, and he's #1 recruit, so they figured it might have a chance. And he calls me the next day and said, yeah, if y'all want to do it, it's on. We had originally scheduled for 10. He said, if you can move it to 12:15, we'll cut into Sports Center and do it. And I said, well, I think we can figure that out.
Yeah. So 12:15, it'll be where is it?
At the at our gym.
In the gym? Is it a thing where like it's open to the public where people just, I realize that it's still just a high school campus. So I don't think people just roll up on high school campuses all the time, but like, is it something that people are invited to attend?
Yeah, people are invited to attend. We're gonna have the gates open so people can walk in and come in there and enjoy, watching him do his thing.
Yeah. So Lamar will make his announcement on Thursday at 12:15. It'll be live on ESPN2. But if you want to attend there on the U-High campus, you can. How do you think Lamar has? He sat in the chair you're in right now. I mean, he's been in studio. He's done a ton of media. Knowing the young man, how do you think he's done throughout this entire process?
I think he's done a good job. I think what a lot of people have to understand is we're talking about high school kids, and I think some people lose track of that and lose the focus on that. But it's a high school kid, and he's had a good time with it. He wanted to take his visits, and I told him, go take your visits. Go see places that you may never see again.
Yeah.
Why not go to L.A. and see USC? Why not go to Miami and see what's down there? Any kid that age would love to go do that. So I think handling the process has been very mature in everything he's been doing, talking to the coaches, doing all the things he had to do. I think, and we've had people go through it before, and I think he's handling it really well.
What about some of those? Would you compare it to anybody that you've had come through before?
Keelan was a very high-profile prospect, and obviously Dylan was
Sure.
very big back in the day, and kind of everything that went on with that. But I think Lamar's a little bit different. I think Dylan was the #1 recruit at the time. Lamar's #1 recruit on some boards, and so it's a little bit different in that sense from Keelan. But Keelan is very high-profile also.
Yeah. Andy Martin's in studio with us. U-High head coach Lamar Brown will make his announcement on Thursday. Do you know? Has he told you?
I do not know. We're gonna, we've talked a couple times, and I said, let me know either tonight or tomorrow morning, and then we'll.
So you'll know before the announcement.
I'll know before the announcement.
Yeah.
He's doing things the right way. He wants to let the coaches know and all that type of stuff.
Smart.
So yeah, he'll let me know tomorrow or tonight, one or the other.
Let's talk a little bit about Lamar, the player. And I think that maybe the most interesting thing is that for a long time, Andy, he was recruited as like the #1 interior offensive lineman. And then he was sitting on the show and we're just walking through, all the stuff. And he basically says, no, LSU's recruiting me. I want to go play for Kevin Peoples and be an end. I'm like, you would do what now? How do you use him?
So he's been, as a freshman, he played a lot more defense and offense for us. Towards the end of the year, he started on offense. We saw a need for it. And sophomore and junior year, it's been mainly offensive line with him rotating on the defensive line. And that would be again this year. He's our anchor on the offensive line. He's our best offensive line we have. And he does a great job, not only just with his play on the field, but there was a communication with the young guys around him. He does a really good job of doing all those things. And so, I think we're going to use him as one of our best offensive linemen. He'll come in and play as much defense as he can.
Yeah. How do you, when you try to project him, do you think he projects? So let me ask it this way. Is the defensive line piece just because that's what he feels more comfortable doing, that he wants to do?
I think it's something that he really wants to do, and he's very. He is being recruited as an athlete because he's an athlete. He's almost 6'5", he's 300 pounds, and we're going to run our 40s next week, and he's going to pop a very good time. And he runs in our skill group with our second group of skill guys, and that's where he chooses to run because he wants to run there and get faster and do all the things he does. So I think he would be a very good offensive lineman also. I think he'd go in and play guard or play center, and I think he's also going to be able to do it on defense. He's going to be a very powerful defensive lineman. His feet are so good. He's so athletic down there, and he's got great leverage for a guy that big, and I think he's going to disrupt a lot of things.
I want to go a little deeper there because you by trade are a defensive guy, defensive coordinator. Go a little deeper, if you would, on Lamar as an end, because sometimes you think, he's 6'5", 300 pounds. I'm thinking, wouldn't that be an interior player? Why does it make more sense for him to play out on the edge?
Well, it just depends on what they're trying to do with him. I think they're gonna figure out the best way to work with him. And we'll continue to see what his body does too. If he keeps getting bigger to where he's 330 pounds, but you can look at him right now, he's 300 pounds, and you couldn't tell. He holds his weight and carries his weight so well that when you tell him people he's 300 pounds, like, I don't see it. So I think that helps with it. His athleticism is off the chart. And so whether they want to put him on the strong side and try to stop that run and disrupt the pass rush, the quarterback, all that type of stuff, and he can definitely do that. And so I think whether it ends up staying outside, whether it goes down in, whatever the plan is for him long term, he's going to do well.
Give me an example of when you see that athleticism, that off the charts athleticism.
When he's doing, when he's just running, when you see him running with our skill guys and going to cut, he goes to make cuts and things like that. But you turn on his film, and I've had a couple coaches talk to me about his film, just talk about him getting out on the edge and being able to block in that screen game. For a big lineman getting out there, sometimes they can't catch those little defensive backs. He plants a lot of those guys, and he just does a good job of getting out there and just being so athletic. And then also you got tackles sometimes that can be a little stiff, and he gets in there and he's just so quick past them. So there's many things that he shows, just his athleticism.
Andy Martin's with us, U-High head coach. Lamar Brown will make his commitment on Thursday there at U-High's campus. Of course, it's always been talked about that U-High is on LSU's campus. And we talked just a bit ago about Keelan and Dylan. One ended up at LSU, one didn't. Jordan Gilbert didn't and then came back. It's interesting with the U-High guys because some make that decision that they want to play at the place where they've been for so long, and some want to go do something different, which to each their own. But what type of conversation do you have with prospects like Lamar or any of these guys who have that decision to make? Do they continue to play college football on the same campus where they played high school?
I think for a lot of them, it's just where's the best fit for them. And some of the guys that have left, it may have been not always their choice. Sometimes maybe a school might have gotten off of them, come on them, those type of things. But in this case, there's no doubt that LSU's recruiting very hard. A&M's recruiting very hard. They've both done a great job recruiting him. And so, I think Lamar's got a couple really good options. And obviously, if he stays home, he stays on campus what he's used to, and there's nothing wrong with that.
How do you and I think one of the things that maybe for the audience that maybe aren't familiar is like the head high school coach, you have a lot of interactions with the college recruiters. Like they're on campus. How often is a college coach on your campus?
So they have their time periods. January, December to January is a big time, and then it starts again in the spring when they come out. And so those two times it's a good bit. And then throughout the season they can come every once in a while and come to visit. But you really start to see it in January, and you really see it when spring ball starts. And so it's every day. Lots of guys come in, and it's neat. You get to meet a lot of people and see big-time schools come on campus.
Yeah, so they rely very heavily on coaches being honest with them, telling them about the player, learning more, all that situation. How do you think LSU has done recruiting Lamar?
Oh, they've done an outstanding job. I mean, they were the first ones to offer him as a freshman. They're in constant contact with him. I think that, they've had a few coaches on him at different times, and I think they put themselves in a good position, for Lamar to make a decision. Yeah.
So when he was a freshman, that was still under the previous staff with Coach Ogeron. So it's been a variety of different coaches that have recruited him. Can you kind of take me through that? Like who has spent the most time with him?
I think, Coach Frank Wilson spent probably the most amount of time with him early on, with the recruitment. I think Coach Sloan spent a lot of time talking to him, and then Coach Peoples has obviously been a big part of his recruitment, especially when the shift became made to the defense side of the ball. So I think those have been the three biggest. Coach Davis was in it before when it was kind of the offensive part, and then whenever it switched over, it became Coach Peoples. But I think the consistent one has been Coach Wilson the entire time.
Yeah. Boy, Frank Wilson's as good as they come in the game when it comes to recruiting. You expect him to have a lot of students there?
I think so. I think we'll have our football team will be there and kind of supporting him and doing all that. And I think we have students there, and it's kind of getting out now, especially now that it's people know it's ESPN2. It's going to be, so I think we'll have a few more people than we normally would have.
Yeah, it's interesting too because just school's out. Like if it were a school day, I mean, you could probably, right, you could do some kind of a school assembly, put everybody in the gym, he makes the announcement, it's cool. But like, I guess nobody's on campus right now except like maybe the slackers like me that would have to go to summer school, right? Something like that. We'll talk a little bit about Lamar, the person as well, because we could put on, like you talked, we could look at the highlights and the film and all that stuff of Lamar, the football player. But what about Lamar Brown, the person? What's it like coaching that young man?
He is a very coachable player. Number one, he's just a good kid. I mean, like really, really good kid. I mean, he takes the coaching. He, pretty quiet if you kind of just don't know him. But then his teammates get to know him, and once you get to know him and all that type of stuff. But what I love about him is being such a good player. You're going to see him working the hardest, which is what you want, and you try to preach on all your teams. Is if you can get your best guys working the hardest, you're going to have a special team. He's one of our hardest workers. I love to watch him interact with the younger guys. The guys attract to him. They navigate to him, and watching him work with the younger linemen, watching him, the patience that he has, talking to them, getting them up to speed, all those type of things are the little things that he has, little intangibles that he has that makes him a special player.
Is that common with your best players?
It can be. It can be. We've had it. We've had it sometimes. Sometimes we haven't. You know. So I think he's one of the ones that when you do get him and you get a talent like that and a guy that's gonna set the example, going to be the guy that's working the hardest, going to be the guy that's doing things the right way on and off the field. You want to definitely point that out because you want young guys trying to emulate that.
Yeah. It's interesting too because you were talking about how he's been an anchor for the Cubs on the offensive line. 'Cause it's where you need him, but he wants to play defense, which is what he's projecting at the next level. I'd imagine that's got to be difficult for a guy like that. Maybe typically, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but it would stand to reason, like if you're a guy like that's that highly recruited, you do what you want to do, and if you want to play defense, you play defense. So what were those conversations like with him to play offensive line when he is projecting himself on the defensive side?
That's one of the biggest things that shows about his character because he's a team first guy, and he knows that we got a couple guys that'll be doing that this year that are going to be offensive linemen for us, and one kid's committed on the defense, and he's going to start an offensive line, and he's been the example for that. That's helped out with that because guys understand that. Look, we got to do what's best for the team, and for us, to be successful, he's going to have to play a lot of ball on offense, and then when he's conditioned enough, when that heat breaks a little bit, and we can get as many reps as we can out of him on defense.
Is it tempting as a defensive guy to be like, man, I'd love to get 60 snaps on the defensive side of the ball out of him?
I'd love to have that. Yeah. that would definitely be awesome. But we need him on both. And so, we try to – I think we have a pretty good system in what we do and trying to get him on the field on both sides of the ball and trying to monitor him throughout the game as to, all right, are you starting to feel a little bit? All right, we'll back off some reps on defense and kind of make sure that you can go on offense.
Do you have a comp for Lamar? I know people always ask that question, but just when you look at the body style and the style of play?
I really don't. I don't know. I don't know where to compare him because so much of what I see on him is offensive line stuff, and kind of the way he's moving. He's somebody that we haven't had on our campus. Somebody that athletic, that size. We've had Jaquelin, who was a very good player for us, and he was an outstanding defensive lineman for us. But a guy this versatile that can do the offense, can do the defense, can do it. Pretty much anything you ask him to do. It's a very rarity.
It's funny you mentioned Jaquelin, of course, Jaquelin Roy, and we mentioned guys like Keelan and Jordan Gilbert, who's there now. And over the years, there's been so many U-High guys who've come to LSU, but I feel like sometimes we focus on the guys that don't come. Now, you also mentioned not everybody's had a committable offer. Like, look, I'm not saying Jordan Clark's a great example of that. Jordan went to Arizona State, finished his career at Notre Dame. When he was coming out, he wasn't a. You tell me if I'm wrong, but my understanding talking to RC was that Jordan didn't have a committable offer to LSU.
Right.
So you say, well, why didn't that kid go to LSU? He didn't have the option to go to LSU. But, I mean, do you see that a little bit about maybe sometimes the perception about the U-High guys that choose not to go to LSU?
Oh, yeah, I see it all the time. I mean, people are always saying things about U-High guys are always going to go somewhere else. They're not going to choose LSU. They've been on the campus all their life, and they're going somewhere else, which I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that's just a misconception because you see a couple big guys that did leave. And like I said, there's been guys that did leave, the Christian Harrises, even the Jordan Gilberts, not necessarily the committable offer for LSU in the beginning. And so I think that's a misconception. I'm
glad you brought up Jordan because I wrote down, I wanted to ask you about both Jordan and Keelan as well. That's another thing about Jordan that I think people probably don't realize. Like, he basically played with one arm last year.
Exactly.
He dislocated, for those who don't know, he dislocated his shoulder, and he played the rest of the season with a harness and basically played with one arm. And it was rough, but I respect tremendously the fact that he did it. Do you talk to Jordan much?
Oh, we talked a good bit. He actually interned with us in the spring, so we got to see him a lot.
You think he's a future coach? Is it something he wants to do? Or he's just kind of trying it out?
He had to do it for a class, but he did a great job with us. I tell you what, he could do a really good job. He had a great just interaction with the kids and all that type of stuff. He was injured, so he kind of had the brace on and all that, and he finally got out of it as we get going. But yeah, I talked to Jordan a good bit.
Yeah, I mean, he missed spring as he was recovering from shoulder surgery. So, like, look, everyone knows safety was a struggle for LSU a year ago. It was probably the weakest spot on the defense, but that was you had a safety playing with one arm. That's a big reason why. But when he is healthy and right, what do you think an expectation is for Jordan this year?
I think Jordan's going to have a great year. I really do. You know, even talking to their coach, stuff like that, and he did this at U-High too. He was such a good leader. He really was. He was a great leader on the field. He knew the game. He knew how to position everybody and get everybody in the right spots. And talking to the coaches and Coach Baker over there, Jordan's doing the same thing, and that's what they love about him. They love his leadership. They love what he does, and he's played a lot of football. He played a lot of football at A&M. He's played a lot of football at LSU. I can't wait to see him this year healthy.
Yeah. Do you think is he more strong or free?
I think he's more free. I think he's very good with the ball in the air when he can use his arms and do all those type of things. But he'll come up and make a tackle also.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see that position group this year. I don't know how much you get to watch the Tigers, but just to have depth there it will be so interesting. Just with the two transfers they brought in, Jordan being healthy, Deshaun Spears. Did you ever play against Spears, by the way?
I don't know if he was on the team when we were young. We played Denham, but it was a while back, so I don't think he was there yet.
Okay. I mean, I know you get to see a lot of the guys in the Baton Rouge area, and that was another big-time prospect who went through some growing pains as a freshman, but you could see all just oozing the ability there, what it's going to look like at safety. And then Keelan's an interesting one as well because, man, he's like, everyone's known Keelan since he was in 8th grade. Maybe even younger than that because he was Dylan's brother. Yeah. But he told me point blank that they see him as the star position. Do you think that tracks?
I think it does. I think it fits very well for him. He's going to do that again. Another great athlete, another guy that can play in space, another guy that if you need him to drop back and do that type of things, or if you need him at the line of scrimmage, he can do whatever he needs to do.
What stands out about Keelan's game? A little maybe more elaborative of what you just talked about when you look at Keelan the player.
I think he diagnoses plays pretty quickly. So if it's time to get to the football, whether it's a run, he's going to get up there pretty quickly. He uses his hands very well, and just he's got that burst, that speed burst that allows him to get there. You know, in the passing game, again, he takes up a lot of space. He's a wide, rangy kid, and just does a good job.
Do you think he's better inside or outside?
I think he can do both. I think probably, right now until he can figure, I think the size can be seeing what he does. I think he's better outside, but I think he could definitely put a little bit more weight on there and come on the inside.
Yeah, this is maybe just a deeper football convo with a guy who knows a ton about defensive football. Like, is this just this sort of like hybrid player at linebacker just what we're seeing in the evolution of the game? I mean, like if you just think of the last 20 years that you've been coaching, how that position in particular has evolved?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, you're seeing it even now when you're looking at the NFL. I mean, those are the guys. You're seeing the athletic linebackers now. You're not seeing the squattier guys, and I think that's definitely the evolution of the game because you're trying to keep up with the offenses. Offenses are going so fast, and they're spreading you out and doing this and the other. If you got guys that can't run and, it's not just about plugging holes up anymore. It's not handling the wham anymore, and trying to splat that. How about that, huh?
Many fullbacks run right into my back when we're running wham plays.
That's not really what they're looking for anymore. It's a lot of different things. So you need a guy that can handle the RPO stuff, get out there in space, but also a guy that can make the tackles in the box.
Yeah. Probably part of the reason why I have such bad back issues right now. Fullback Adam Aycock running straight into my back.
I know.
Yes. I mean, he's still yoked. It's like we're all 43 years old, and he's still incredibly built. Andy Martin's in studio with us. Lamar Brown's going to make his commitment tomorrow. When you look at the rest of your roster for 2025 with the Cubs, how are they looking? I know Emil's going to be. I'll ask you about Emil in a second as well, but how are you looking for 25?
We're very excited. We had a kid commit to UL the other day at defensive end, Jordan Pinnock, and we have a defensive back that committed to the Naval Academy.
Nice.
Which will be our third year in a row of having a guy at the Naval Academy, which I love. I love guys going to the Naval Academy. But other than that, we got some younger guys that are some prospects, but I think we just have a good nucleus. Our senior class is doing a great job of leading, and we're very excited for the season.
I mentioned Emil. It's, of course, Emil Picarella, who transferred in. You had him for 2 years, right?
2 years, yep.
So you had Emil for 2. Emil was in studio. Great young, personable guy, but also a guy, if you don't remember his recruitment, early in his high school career, he was, at one point he was one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the country for his class. And for whatever reason last year, some of the ratings, the star ratings, whatever, dipped. Maybe you can speak to that. I really don't know. So he's at LSU now as a preferred walk-on in a class where they didn't take a scholarship quarterback. Can you just give us sort of like the thumbnail on Emil?
Yeah, I think Emil got caught in that deal of recruitment with the transfer portal. Guys at different schools, they wanted to take a guy that was in the transfer portal and pull him out. And Emil can play football. Emil's got a plus arm. He makes good decisions. He did a really good job running our offense. Came in and learned it right away. Came in and became a leader right away, and just did a great job for us.
Is that one? That's interesting too. And I think now that I'm thinking of it, Emil and I did talk about that a little bit because college. Look at LSU a year ago with AJ Swan is a good example of that. They brought in a backup who had SEC experience. Did it again this year with Michael Van Buren.
Right.
And so sometimes the guy that quote unquote loses in that situation is the high school quarterback who maybe isn't the 5-star blue chip that doesn't get that opportunity. So did you all ever have a conversation about him maybe going somewhere else to start his career and then getting in the portal looking for that big-time opportunity?
He looked at different places and different things, but the bottom line is, I think in his heart he wanted to be an LSU Tiger. Like that was his deal, and I think he's going to do a good job of learning and continuing to progress. Yeah.
It's going to be fascinating to watch how this all plays out, just in this whole new era and evolution of recruiting, be it high school or portal. Do you have any feeling one way or another on the state of recruitment with NIL and rev share and portal and all the stuff, how it goes? You see these guys every day.
Yeah, it's changed a lot of stuff. I think, the transfer portal is the thing that's really changed the high school recruiting. That's a lot of coaches they say they want to keep getting some high school guys, but everybody wants to win right away. If they can pluck a guy from some of these smaller schools from an SEC school that's not playing and put him in there right away, well, then that's what they're going to do. And a lot of our guys, that's where they would go. They go to a smaller school and they would kind of get developed there. And so we're kind of seeing a change there. But we'll see. I think guys are getting opportunities. I can tell you this. I think schools that never thought they would get some of these guys are now getting guys that they were like, oh, we didn't think we'd get him. And so I think that's been a big thing for some of the smaller schools. And they know that you may only get him for 1 or 2 years, but we're going to use everything we can for 1 or 2 years with him.
That's interesting. Do you think that's a good thing?
Look, I think I tell our guys that are maybe going to a smaller school that dream of going to a bigger school. I tell them, look, go to the school and get some film and do your best, and then use the system for what it is. Like if that's what it is, where you can go out and do really well there, and if you want to move up and somebody will take you, then go for it.
Yeah, your point's a good one. Like, look, the smaller schools are benefiting from that tremendously. Like, if you get it for a year or two, use it to your. I remember having that conversation with Will Wade. Mm-hmm. I was sitting with Will in Lake Charles a couple of years ago, and he said they were recruiting that to say, we'll take the 1-year guy, make them all conference, set them off to a Power 5, and we'll recruit the next guy. Say, come here for 1 year. We'll take you for 1 year. We'll let you do this, and then go get your bag and go play for whatever, however it goes. It is interesting to think of it that way, because a lot of times we might be conditioned to think in terms of the opportunity that isn't there at the Power 5 immediately, but maybe it is that smaller school opportunity that benefits everybody.
Yeah.
Fascinating time. One thing's for certain. Lamar Brown go wherever he wants. Like, whatever hat he puts on Thursday, they're going to be thrilled to have him. I know a lot of people here are biased, hoping it's a purple, gold, white hat, whatever it may be. I don't want to see no maroon. I don't want to see no maroon at the U-High Gym tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. Coach Andy Martin. Thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate the time as always.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Yep. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.